This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up, everybody? Ricky Widmer here, along with the one, the only, Brandon Swanson.
Hey.
What a game last night, huh?
Yeah, it was
a game. Like,
it
we're
was
recording
not
this on Tuesday.
not very close.
Well, I was mad about that. That's you couldn't hear the sarcasm in my voice, where it was like, what a game last night. What a game, because it wasn't a game in the second half. Villanova just pulled away.
It actually wasn't a game after Michigan had the lead 21-14. It was no longer a game after that.
Yeah.
Once it was that score, that was it.
Yeah, and I mean, we're recording this on Tuesday, just after the national title game where Villanova won. We're going to be talking about this in depth. We're going to have a whole segment next week about this. Whole reason why is today's our big board. We're doing our big board for the NFL draft, so it kind of pushes the college basketball reaction, but I just wanted to give the thoughts at the beginning that it wasn't really like, it was one of those where Dave and I were watching the game. First half, we're like really into it, and then the second half, I can't. Like, if you asked me what happened in the second half, my answer would just be DiVincenzo, because I didn't really watch.
That's all you needed.
I didn't really watch in the second half.
It's actually true.
It was on the TV. I just was so bored with the outcome of it. It was nowhere near that North Carolina-Villanova thriller that both you and I watched at my house about 2 years ago when Villanova won it the first time for this second in 3 years.
Well, I mean, it wasn't
cycle.
even like the game last year.
No, it wasn't.
I mean, it wasn't even like the game last year. It was at least competitive throughout last year with North Carolina winning at the end. But this game, I mean, Villanova showed clearly why they were the best team. Really, I think, in all of basketball and college basketball in terms of scoring, and they showed why they were the best team in the tournament. I mean, they won every game by at least 12 points. So it was another impressive showing by them for Jay Wright and his squad, and Villanova has really, I think, positioned themselves as one of the best teams in all of college basketball.
And the one thing I almost forgot to mention was the winner of our bracket tournament for MVP goes out to Logan. Logan won the whole thing. He had, 1130 were the amount of points he had. Do you know what place you came in?
Yeah, fifth.
You were tied for fifth.
I think I beat everyone at MVP.
Okay, here was the thing.
Because I am the best analyst at college
I knew
basketball.
This was going to happen.
When it comes to something like that, I think I won it last year. And now I come in tied for fifth. We'll just assume I win the tiebreaker, so fifth. And, sure. It's hard being the smartest guy in the room.
Well, what helped you was you had a strong first round.
Yeah.
And then just coasted.
That's all I had.
Whereas I finished only 2 behind you. I finished only 40 points behind you.
But still behind me.
That's why I really wanted Michigan to win, because if Michigan would have won, I would have jumped up to third. But I told Dave, I'm like, I'll beat Brandon and I'll be the top of MVP, and he won't be able to brag about it because I know he's going to brag about it when we go and record tomorrow, even though his champion Michigan State got knocked out well before the Final Four.
Well before that. However, I think I picked it the same in both brackets that I did, the other one being for some monetary value. I did pick a Michigan State-Michigan championship, where I did have Michigan losing, but not the way that they lost last night.
Yeah. Well, Logan, congratulations.
Yeah, way to go,
winning
Logan.
our
way to
bracket
go.
tournament.
I don't know what you get, but good for you.
Email mostvaluablepodcasts@gmail.com with proof of
proof of insurance with your last 4 of your social. That's how we'll be able to verify it.
We don't need that. Just screenshot your thing, your app or whatever they call it nowadays.
Don't just do anything. Let's be specific about it.
Yeah, we don't want some pictures. We just want a picture of your app showing that you are the right person of the bracket pool. But if you guys haven't noticed, this is the Primetime Podcast here on Most Valuable Podcast.
Is that what this is?
Your one-stop shop for college football, college basketball on MVP. A little bit of housekeeping before we get into, like I said, it's our NFL big board this week. Before we get into it, housekeeping. Number one, you want to help support us. Make sure we can continue doing what we're doing. You want to join a podcast. You want to get the exclusive Patreon podcast that we do each and every month. Make sure to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. Also, if you want to get yourself an MVP t-shirt, that store link is down below in the description. Mostvaluablepodcast.com. That's where we put everything for MVP each and every day. And then last but not least, go ahead and give the Primetime Podcast a 5-star rating on iTunes and Apple Podcasts. But Brandon, we're going into our big board.
And while you were saying that, when you said get yourself, you almost went into your Boston accent.
I almost did. Well,
you want to get yourself one of these fine T-shirts over here.
Because I skipped a couple words, and they all ran together. And I was
car. Get in the car.
Park your car and have it. Yeah, you know what I'm saying there, Sean? You know what I'm saying there? But we're doing our big board. We're starting off 25 through 16. Brandon, we always start with you. Give us your big board starting, I forget, do we start at...
We start at the bottom. We start at 25 and go up.
But you give 16 through 20 and then...
16 through 25.
Yeah, and then you start at 16, though. I'm correct with that?
No, I go at 25 and I go up to 16.
Start at 25.
You're actually wrong on everything you just said.
Start at 25, then bring us on up to 16.
At 25, I've got Marcus Davenport, defensive end, University of Texas, San Antonio. At 24, I've got the offensive tackle from Texas, Connor Williams. At 23, Cortland Sutton, wide receiver from SMU. At 22, I've got Rashad Penny, running back from San Diego State. At 21, I've got Josh Jackson, the outstanding cornerback from Iowa. At 20, I've got Calvin Ridley, the wide receiver from Alabama. At 19, friend of the show, Mo Hurst, defensive lineman, Michigan. At 18, I've got Christian Kirk, wide receiver, Texas A&M. At 17, Mike McGlinchey, offensive tackle from Notre Dame. And at 16, I've got another running back from LSU, Darius Geis, or as Mark Dub them E's, Weber calls him, Darius Juice.
Yeah, Darius Juice. We even got a comment about that where Mark knows it's Darius Geis. I corrected him. He just likes calling him Darius Juice because it looks like juice.
I'm not going to lie. You could say it like that. You could. And get away with it. And people wouldn't think that you're like crazy.
It's just the silent U. But you know what I noticed before we go into mine? You know what we noticed we didn't do before the podcast?
What?
We did not go over names for the new appearances on Ricky's Big Board. So there's bound to be a name that I screw up. We're going to start at the bottom, though, number 25, Jair, right? Jair? Jaier, Jair Alexander, cornerback from Louisville. Then Alan Lazard, the wide receiver from Iowa State and the Cyclones. Mike McGlinchey, the offensive tackle from the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Then Calvin Ridley at 22, wide receiver from Roll Tide. 21, Colton Miller, the offensive tackle from UCLA. Number 20, Leighton Vander Esch, Mark's favorite name to say in this draft, linebacker from Boise State. Number 19, Daron bringing the pain, defensive tackle from that same Roll Tide team. Cortland Sutton, the wide receiver from SMU and the Mustangs. Number 17, Rashaan Evans, inside linebacker from yet again Alabama, Roll Tide. And then number 16, Lamar Miller, the quarterback.
It's not Lamar Miller. Lamar Miller is a washed-up running back for Houston.
Jackson's what I meant to say.
Yes.
Well, you know what it is? It's whenever I say Lamar, like Lamar, it usually comes after Miller.
Lamar Miller.
Usually because we're playing our really crappy Houston Texans Madden franchise, and I want to trade Lamar Miller. That's usually why that comes out of my mouth whenever we play Madden. But that's actually the first person I want to start with. Not Lamar Miller, Lamar Jackson, quarterback from Louisville, because I have him at 16. You don't have him on your big board at all. Just did his pro day last week. You can check Sean and I last week on the Onside Kick talked about what are the best fits for him. But we also mentioned that last Thursday was his pro day. Well, now it's after that. Did very well. Also showed that he can not just throw from the shotgun. He went under center and looked really good at his pro day. Another thing he didn't do, he didn't run the 40 because he's not a wide receiver. What are your thoughts on Lamar Jackson as we enter the final month of the NFL draft prep time, as we are now, what, would we be 23 days away as we're recording this on the 3rd?
Lamar Jackson is a really good quarterback. He's a really good talent, and he has continued to show that he's got a lot of skills. I just don't think that he's going to be a round one I think that he's going to be a high day 2.
Well, the thing that I'll ask you, and I know this is dipping a little into the onside kick, Patriots did make a trade today. They did make a trade for the 23rd overall selection, and our own Sean Miller, he's like, I want Lamar. I want Lamar in that first round, whether it's at
our own Sean Miller.
Our own Sean Anderson. I just want to throw Miller at the end of everything, but our own Sean Anderson wants Lamar Jackson either at 23 or 31 for the Patriots. Either one of those picks, he wants Lamar Jackson.
To be honest with you, I have said for a while, way back actually, that Lamar Jackson could be a fit for the New England Patriots, and have asked the question, would they take a quote-unquote chance on Lamar Jackson, because that's the way I feel like people have kind of portrayed it. Like, oh, if you take Lamar Jackson, you're really taking a chance. Well, you're taking a chance on any player you take in any draft. Let's be honest about it. I've said that for a long time, too. It's one of those things with Lamar Jackson, though, is where is going to be his best fit. We've talked about that numerous times. For him to, I think, have immediate success, he's going to have to go into a system with a really, really good head coach, a head coach that's willing to work with him and to adjust to and adapt to the things that he's going to bring to a team.
And not want to make him a wide receiver.
Well, exactly, because I think that, that is disrespectful to have a guy come in and for someone to go, you're going to be a wide receiver. Well, you haven't even seen me be a quarterback yet.
Yeah.
So I think that if you went to the Patriots, that's a perfect fit, because you have a guy like Bill Belichick that, even though he's been working with for the last, 18 years with Tom Brady, a guy who is all about pocket quarterback, not going to run, and then you'd be going from that to a guy who can be a pocket quarterback, can go under center, and who can run. He has got wheels. That would be something completely different, but it would add a new dimension to now it's going to be looking a little bit differently offensively for the New England Patriots. They just traded away, actually, before we came on and recorded, found out that they traded away Brandon Cooks to get the 23rd pick in this draft.
Well, and when it comes to Lamar Jackson, the way I look at it is, to me, he is clearly there. In my mind, he is clearly a top 5 quarterback in this class, and you could even make a case, to me, that he's a top 4 quarterback in this class. Because to me, you look at, I'll spoil it right now, at number 14, when we get to the next section of our big board, I got Josh Rosen. And the reason why I have these two so close is we're going to get into this later on with Josh Rosen, but for me, that one question that Lamar Jackson doesn't have, that Josh Rosen has, is his focus for football. Everything that came out with Jim Mora, with Josh Rosen, you got all those questions. Like I said, we'll get to that later. But you don't get that with Lamar Jackson. He's a guy that is all on football. He has the talent to succeed. And I feel like the way it's going to go is Lamar Jackson will be that guy that somebody will get at the end of the first round, whether it's middle to the end of the first round, whether it's a Arizona, whether a Los Angeles is ballsy and takes a quarterback. I don't think they will, but they could, because Phillip Rivers isn't going to be there forever. Or a team late in the first, like a New England, like a New Orleans, like a Jacksonville, Pittsburgh could even go ahead and take Lamar. Somebody from 15 down is going to take him and is going to get a special treat at the quarterback position.
Let me ask a question. We saw a bit of a surprise last year when the Bears traded a lot to get Mitch Trubisky, to move up to get Mitch Trubisky at 2.
Yeah.
Now, this would be a different, in a sense, but because every situation obviously is different, but could we see a team in the top 5, in the top 10, completely surprise us? And if they're going to go quarterback, they go with Lamar Jackson, because they feel like he could be a different at a different dimension than any of the other quarterbacks can. And I was going to say, I know that a lot of people talk about, the Darnolds, the Rosens, Rosen as being the best overall pro-ready quarterback. But could someone look at Lamar Jackson and say, hey, we want our organization to go in a different direction. We need a spark. He can do it.
He can. And the reason why
you think the Jets.
I say the Jets because how I'm thinking NFL draft right now, and this could be a spoiler from my mock draft, but I don't care. Rumors are the Browns love Josh Allen. Rumors are the Giants love Sam Darnold. So for me, without a trade, barring anything there, because I'm on the hype train of Browns get a deal done where you swap the first and the second, you give your first next year. It's basically you give 2 firsts this year and next year, and you get Odell Beckham and the second overall pick. That's the train I'm on. That's the hype train I'm on to get Odell to Cleveland. Get Odell to Cleveland, give the Giants their 2 firsts, and you just basically are swapping picks.
If that were to happen,
year.
I think Kirk Cousins would say, Minnesota, thank you for the money. I'm going to give it back. Cleveland, what were you offering again?
Yeah. I'm on that train, but I don't think it's going to happen. So if they stay where they're at, Browns go with the guy they like, Giants go with the guy they like, then it's the Jets. And like I said that, you can maybe put Lamar over Josh Rosen. Arguably, you can put him ahead of Baker Mayfield, too. Like, Baker Mayfield isn't locked in at 3 or 4.
None of these guys, Ricky, are locked in at anything. They're not locked in at anything. It's all a prediction. It's all a thought. I really don't think, quarterback-wise.
Yeah, I would say Allen and Darnold are at the top 1, 2, though. I would say that they're arguably 1, 2.
Yes, but you could make an argument that none of these guys are locked in at any spot.
True.
You could make that argument. Because it's all dependent on what a team thinks. It's all dependent on what a scout thinks. And don't tell me for 1 minute that there aren't some scouts out there who are seeing something that other scouts aren't, and that there's teams out there and general managers and owners that are willing to take a risk on somebody because they just are ready for something different. I mean, look at just kind of how some things can be. People take chances all the time, whether it's in sports, whether it's in daily life. You take a chance on doing something or somebody because you need something different. You want something different. Lamar Jackson, he's not different, but he offers that different, that interesting dimension of, he's like your Russell Wilson. He's a guy who's not just a good passer, but he's just an overall great athlete. And whereas, yes, is Josh Allen also a great athlete? He is, but he's not going to be that guy who's going to run all over the field and outrun defenders to get to the end zone for a touchdown. So that's where I'm coming from. And I know that may sound a little crazy, and I'm okay with that, but I think it's one of those things where you just don't know. Is it extremely realistic? Maybe not, but could it happen? Sure.
You've got the player comps of, I hate doing this because the guy that they compare Lamar Jackson to was probably one of the best mobile, passing mobile quarterbacks that we've seen in Michael Vick.
Yeah.
Like Lamar Jackson, your athleticism, you're getting Michael Vick. Josh Allen, you're getting Big Ben, where Big Ben's not going to go out there and light you up with his legs, but he'll run out there and extend the play with his legs to then throw it. Like, that's the difference in their athleticism.
Because you can't bring him down.
Exactly. And, I mean, Josh Allen, watching him play, has reminded me of Big Ben a lot. But, yeah, Lamar Jackson was just who I wanted to open up with just because of what he did at his pro day. He's really polarizing to me. Could go, I think, as high as 15 to the Cardinals and could go anywhere from end of the first round, even second round, like you said. Another thing I wanted to get into was the running backs, because I have no running backs on my big board except for Saquon Barkley, who is in the top 5. No surprise there. However, you have Darius Geis, you have Rashad Penny. These are 2 guys that I don't have. I mean, I'm compiling my full 7-round mock draft that I will be releasing on either the 17th or the 18th of this month. And I've got Darius Geis as an early 2nd-round pick. And right now I've got Rashad Penny as a late 2nd-round pick. What made you put these guys basically in the lower half of your first round of the NFL draft?
Well, with Rashad Penny, that's who I'll start off first with because he was the lower of the 2. So Rashad Penny, he earned AP first-team All-American honors as everyone else was sleeping, literally sleeping. He was one of the best players in college football. I mean, he truly was. For San Diego State, for a team, again, that doesn't and didn't get a whole lot of attention outside of what he was doing. I mean, breaking records in so many different categories. He has had a positive draft performance. This is a guy who's probably a 2nd-round pick, who really should be higher than that because of his talent, because of what he's able to do on the field, because of the dimensions that he brings as a running back with his speed, with his hands, with his playmaking ability. This guy is good, and he knows how to make plays happen. And now, is he as dynamic as a Saquon Barkley? No, he's not. But is he a lesser version of what Saquon is? I would say yes, he is. And I think that's why
Saquon's all around.
I mean, he is. He's all around. He can do so much for you in so many different areas. It's unreal.
He didn't even have to work out at his pro day, and everyone's like, yeah, whatever. He didn't have to do anything. Like, anyone else sits out their pro day, what the hell is this guy thinking? Saquon does it. Yeah, whatever, he's Saquon. It's going to go here overall. It's like people know what they're going to get, and Saquon's got nothing to prove at this point. That's how good he is.
Exactly. And I just think that Rashad Penny, he's really one that, I mean, when we brought him up this season, and I think that, gosh, he was maybe brought into the conversation of Heisman. I think at one point, he was in the conversation of Heisman, of, could it go to him? And I had said no. Because he wasn't getting the coverage. He was not getting the coverage. He did not get the coverage because he's playing on the West Coast. He's not going to be seen by most of America, because he's on San Diego State.
Yeah.
Was on San Diego State, whereas all these other teams, all these other players are getting the stage, prime time in front of all these millions of Americans that are watching. And now, is that fair? No, it's not. But is it reality? Sure. But Rashad Penny is really a great talent and a guy who I think a team could take a flyer on in the first round that really needs a running back, and teams always need running backs. And then when you look at and talk about Darius Geis, you talk about a guy with strength and agility in the running game. You're looking at another Leonard Fournette. I think you're looking almost exactly at Leonard Fournette, because when Geis took over for Fournette, when Fournette was injured, this was the first time when he took over at LSU. I couldn't tell the difference. I could not tell the difference. I thought it was Leonard Fournette out there.
This was when Fournette got injured and then came back.
And Geis came in and got on the stage.
Yeah.
Because
it was like, this team's going to be fine.
Yeah, and because he was doing the same things. He was doing the same things that Leonard Fournette did. He had the same moves. He had the same playmaking ability. With Darius Geis, I think you are looking at another version of Leonard Fournette.
Well, and the thing that I find interesting, and this is a big difference between big board and mock draft, is the big board, although I don't have them as my top 25 players, I could see someone like yourself that puts them in there and go, all right, I can see why you do that, because just looking at the order of the draft, basically from 20 on, there are teams that could take a running back. Might not be their number one overall need, but could take a running back. Does Detroit at 20
they need one.
Surprise us?
Need one.
Like, how often have they been running back by committee, and guess what? Hasn't worked.
With an awful committee.
Zenner. I like Zenner. Zach Zenner's my bro, but guess what? He's not your number one running back. How many times did Theo Riddick screw you over? Was it Theo Riddick that screwed you over in fantasy?
No,
or was it Abdullah?
It was Abdullah.
Amir Abdullah. Like, Amir Abdullah was good.
Well, you're getting screwed in fantasy when you have to rely on Amir Abdullah.
Yeah. Like, I'm going back, I'm dating myself, when they had Javid Best, the injury machine couldn't be on the field.
Reggie
Bush, too. But, I mean, the Lions are one. Then you go, I could see Pittsburgh. What if Pittsburgh likes one of these guys late in the first, and they go ahead and take that with the whole Le'Veon thing that's going on? You've got Philly, where Philly basically at 32 is like, fuck it, we're in the second round. We are basically almost the second round. We're the first round, but we're so close to the second to where we're basically the second round.
Philly is one. That's the one where I think I might disagree that they would need a running back, because they've got. I mean, they no longer have LeGarrette Blount.
Well, not as their main guy.
No, but they have. What's this? Ajayi, and then they have Clement.
Didn't they have LeGarrette?
LeGarrette, I think, is gone.
Yeah,
LeGarrette's gone, so they have Clement. Behind him.
That's right,
and I feel like they have like a slew, at least of one or two more. I feel like that they're
here.
set in terms of their running backs. I don't think that they'd go running back, especially not as their first
You're
pick.
right, because on the depth chart right now, Jay Ajayi, Wendell Smallwood.
Yeah, Smallwood's another one. Yeah.
Corey Clement, and then who they picked up last year in the draft, Donald Pumphrey, who was the all-time leading rusher last year, I believe. He was from, don't quote me, I think it's Navy, but don't quote me.
I won't.
No, he wasn't. That was Connor. Don't quote me. I think he was from San Diego State also, but don't quote me on that one
Still
either.
not quoting you.
But another team like New England, they could take a running back, but I don't think they do it in the first round. Now they got 2 picks. They can do anything they want there. But like that's even like going into the last thing that we were going to touch in this first segment of the podcast is even the offensive line and like offensive tackles, because in this range, I'm looking, we both have 2 each. We both have Mike McGlinchey.
Mike McGlinchey.
And I used to be saying Mike McGlinchey. He never corrected me until the 3.0.
Thought you'd learn on your own.
About half of these big boards I've been saying his name wrong. But then we each have someone different, where you have a Connor Williams. I have a Colton Miller from UCLA. The thing that I am thinking now about these offensive tackles and offensive guards is it's like Quentin Nelson's at the top. He's your top 5, top 10 guy. And then it's like, all right, there's nothing until the end, where it's like before we go all the way back to our 1.0 big boards where I had Mike McGlinchey at the... I'm going to say his name wrong. Right? Just correct me. I had him at 14. You had an Orlando Brown at 14. We had guys like Okafor from Western Michigan. Connor Williams was in that top 4. We had several guys. Now it's like, here's Quentin Nelson at the top. All right, and then maybe 1 or 2 at the end of our top 25, getting into our last big board here with the 4.0.
Yeah, and to kind of go right off of that, so at 24, I've got Connor Williams. He's from Texas. Over 3 seasons, he allowed 1 sack. He allowed 1 sack. That's incredible. Health has been a question. He's dealt with an injury. If he had not had that injury, we're looking at a really high pick, I think, in Connor Williams. He could start at tackle or guard in the NFL, so I think that part right there is really big as well. Being versatile is important. I can't get over the fact that he allowed 1 sack over 3 seasons. Just how good that is. And I understand that that's college, and the NFL is a new beast and a new monster and a new day. But that's impressive. That cannot go unnoticed. And then for Mike McGlinchey, you talk about another guy that's versatile. Started double-digit games at left tackle and right tackle. So, again, can work both sides and is good at it. And excels in the run game. I mean, if I were the New York Giants, I would trade as much as I could to try and get all of these guys, because you need them all. Because your offensive line sucks ass so bad. If you're the New York Giants, I would say screw the quarterback. I'm going with an offensive lineman, and Quentin Nelson would probably be their pick there. And I know that that's not the popular pick because everyone thinks and believes they'll go quarterback. But these offensive linemen, these offensive tackles, offensive guards, they are good. And I know that you're saying about some different guys that we had in there. You know, there's Quentin Nelson and there's kind of everybody else, but we can't just say it's like, whatever. They're good. I mean, there's very good talent. Like I said, with Connor Williams, I think you take away his injury and the questions around there.
Oh, he's flying.
He's flying top 10.
Yeah, the big thing is that injury that he had.
And you know, Mike McGlinchey, I have him at 17, and you have him at 23.
Yep.
You know, he could easily probably be in top 15. So you look at these guys and this talent, and they're good. I mean, you really do have a pretty strong, solid pool of offensive linemen here to be able to choose from.
Well, and that's why, Connor Williams, I'll be honest, this is unofficial because all this could change now that the Patriots made that trade today for the 23rd overall pick. But in my 4 rounds into my 7-round mock draft that I'm coming up with, my first draft has Connor Williams at 32, first pick of the second round to the Browns. So it's like basically you're 1A, basically, with that first pick outside. But like, same thing with me with Colton Miller, where it's like the reason why I have him in is because he's a guy that you can played the left side in college, but can switch over to the right side as a pro. And he's a guy that the best thing I love about him is that with his technique, he can chase edge rushers to the corner to where it's like, you got a guy coming off. It's all right. I'm going to set that edge and I'm not going to let that guy get through, because what's the one thing we heard analysts say every single football game last year? It was the term of the century. Set the edge. Oh, are they setting the edge? Are they setting the edge? You got to set the edge, Brandon. Heard it every single NFL game last year.
Well, I think it's really important that these offensive linemen, that when they're coming in, that they've got the speed to be able to not just set the edge, but get to the edge quickly and not let their guys, because, I mean, we're seeing more and more defensive guys and linemen right there be quick.
Yes.
Be really quick. They're not just big anymore and slow. They're fast. They're fast, and if you have poor,
I don't want to say lean, but it's like you're built, but you got to be able to move.
But also, too, we're starting to see some that are smaller, but they're quick, so it doesn't matter. They're getting around the fat boys. You know, so it is going in a different direction. So you've got to have speed, you've got to have great footwork, and you've got to have the technique. The technique has got to be good, because if you have poor technique, it's going to lead to everything else not being good. So that's very important.
Well, before I move on, you guys let us know what you guys think about our 16 through 25 in the comments section. Let's move on, though, into our 6 through 15, though. And Brandon, we'll start with you. You got to give us. Start at 15 and going up. 15 through 6, who are they?
All right, at 15, I've got Baker Mayfield, the quarterback from Oklahoma. At 14, I've got Vita Vea, defensive tackle from Washington. At 13, Denzel Ward, the cornerback from Ohio State, the Ohio State University. At 12, I've got Deron Payne, defensive tackle, Alabama.
Bring it to Payne.
At 11, I've got Harold Landry, the edge rusher. I mean, he's very versatile. He could play a couple different positions there.
Defensive end, outside linebacker, either or.
Boston College. At 10, Tremaine Edmonds, outside linebacker, Virginia Tech. At 9, Derwin James, safety, FSU. At 8, Josh Rosen, quarterback from UCLA. From number 7, Roquan Smith, linebacker from Georgia. And at 6, Sam Darnold, quarterback, USC.
Did you put a little inflection on that Georgia? A little bit of Georgia?
Yeah, I did.
But let's get right into mine. Starting at 15, Derwin James, a safety from Florida State and the Seminoles. Number 14, Josh Rosen, the quarterback from UCLA. Then you got Josh Allen at 13, or Somebody
named Josh at 13.
So many Joshes. Josh Jackson. You know what I think it is today? I just don't like the last name Jackson today. Didn't want to say it for Lamar. Didn't want to say it for Josh. Josh Jackson, if I can get it out of my mouth. Cornerback from Iowa. Then Tremaine Edmonds, the outside linebacker from VT. Then at 11, Marcus Davenport, the defensive end from University of Texas San Antonio. Number 10, Vita Vea, defensive tackle from Washington. Number 9, Baker Mayfield, the quarterback from Oklahoma. Number 8, Denzel Ward, the cornerback from the Ohio State University. Number 7, Sam Darnold, the quarterback. Going to say it like that yet again, from UCLA. And then number 6, Minkah Fitzpatrick,
Fitzy,
the defensive back from Roll Tide, Alabama, and the Crimson Tide. But Brandon, before we get into it, I don't know what it is today. I think it's the last name Jackson. My mouth doesn't want to say the last name Jackson. Lamar, I was calling him Miller. I mean, I also called Sean Anderson Sean Miller, and then Josh Jackson, I wanted to call him
Sean Miller. I hope there's not a big investigation into our Sean.
No, not like that. But the guy I want to start with is a Josh, and he's Josh Rosen. And the thing I want to mention with Josh Rosen is this is a week where we're kind of double dipping into this topic, because you and I are going to talk about it here on the big board. And on the onside kick this week, Mark and I are going to look into best fit for Josh Rosen at the next level. And at the beginning of that segment, we definitely are going to touch this. So in an interview with Sports Illustrated, Jim Mora, who used to be the head coach of the UCLA Bruins, had this to say basically about his former quarterback. And I quote, "He needs to be challenged intellectually so he doesn't get bored. He's a millennial. He wants to know why. Millennials, once they know why, they're good. Josh has a lot of interests in life. If you can hold his concentration level and focus only on football for a few years, he'll set the world on fire. He has so much ability, and he's a really good kid." And the tweet that Josh Rosen had Monday afternoon after reading the comments was basically, he said, "Why?" Crossed arms emoji, I think it is, hashtag why. Here's what I want to ask you. The millennial comment, that doesn't bother me, because even like Teddy Bruschi said today on NFL Live, of course it's like that. You have more millennials now. That's why meetings for teams are shorter, because it's odd after a few minutes, you get people on their phones and you lose the distraction. The thing that doesn't sit well with me, and maybe I'm an old curmudgeon here when I say this, the way Jim Mora phrased it of when he said, if you can hold his concentration level and focus only on football for a few years, if I'm a scout, if I'm a GM, red flag. I just tape it as a red flag. If I have to tell you and have to make you want to focus on football, you're not the guy for me. You got to love it to be here, especially if you're my quarterback. What do you think of these comments from Mora about Josh Rosen?
Well, I think they're really interesting comments, and they come at a really interesting time here in April. I mean, less than a month before the draft coming up here, and I don't think Jim Mora misspoke in any sense. I mean, I know that he then goes on NFL Network and clears up what exactly he meant and what he was saying, and
didn't have to.
No. He said what he meant. He said what he meant, that Josh Rosen can be easily distracted, and football isn't necessarily his number one love and passion. And now, did he say that? No, he didn't. But I'm expanding and unpacking it.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's what we do here. And also, this goes back to an article that I read probably about a month ago. It may have been, actually, when was our last big board? Was that a month ago?
It was.
So about a month ago then. And it was an SI article, and it talked about how was Josh Rosen as, I guess, sold on football, because his upbringing was, he came from a good family that had money.
The Johnny Manziel criticism.
And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to come from a family that has money and that puts you in a good place and everything like that, but how many times have we seen players that are coming from broken homes and stuff like that? Football is their life.
Because it's their ticket.
Well, it's not just that it's their ticket, but it's all they know. Like, how could they not play football? Because that's what they grew up with. That's what saved them. Football saved them. And that is a passion right there. Josh Rosen doesn't have that story. He didn't go along that path. He doesn't need to go along that path, because many others like him also didn't go along that path. But when you have a coach that coached you in college, was alongside you every day, not doing the drills with you, but there while you're doing the drills and everything, and having meetings and talking to you one-on-one and having the relationship they had, which apparently was close, it makes you really wonder, is he in it 100%?
You know what I just got? Rosen's tweet. He's making fun of it. You want to know why?
Yes.
It just hit me that it's like, oh, he just said you ask why, and then you're asking why. It's slow. It's like,
you're slow.
I just got it halfway through, but this is the reason why, the exact reason why I've got Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold ahead of him, though. And it's the reason of kind of what Mora has said before about it, where he cited fit and blue-collar gritty attitude for why Darnold was a better fit, or was better for the Browns than a Josh Rosen. But also, like, you could compare what you were just saying with Josh Rosen to, like, I think it was Jameis Winston, where it's like coming up with nothing, totally different situation than Josh Rosen. Basically, it's I make it in football or I don't make it. Like, I have to do this. Like, it is almost do or die. I either do this or I'm living a life of poverty, and I've got to make this work no matter what happens. I even look at Baker Mayfield, and this is why I have Baker ahead of Josh Rosen. Baker Mayfield, just like Josh Rosen, comes from a family to where Baker could quit football and he'll be fine. His family will be there. There are so many people even comparing him to Johnny Manziel because, like, his family is well off as well. But the thing that I love about Baker Mayfield is the attitude behind him, to where I know that everyone says, like, oh, inspirational story, but it fits to his character. Walk on. Didn't just accept that. I'm going to fight. Oh, I'm not going to be the starter here. I'm going to transfer over to Oklahoma. Walk on again, basically. Earn a scholarship. Be the starter. Fight to get that team into the college football playoff. Basically get it to where that whole team and coach love me. And that's the attitude that I would want, that I do want in a quarterback.
And Ricky,
I don't want someone where it's like, are you going to be invested in this 24, maybe not 24/7, but are you going to be invested in this when the chips are on the table? Like, I want a Tom Brady attitude when it comes to your love for the game.
And with Baker Mayfield, and I'm not saying that Josh Rosen was, but with Baker Mayfield, he was not handed anything.
No, he wasn't.
He worked, like you said, he worked every single time to get the starting job, to get on the team, to do everything like that. He is motivated. He is passionate. He is so fiery, and I love it all. Josh Rosen.
He's got that chip.
Josh Rosen, though, I haven't seen too many instances where Josh Rosen was fiery and passionate like that. Now you don't have to all be the same.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen.
It would be boring if we were all the same.
I haven't seen too many clips or images or spots where Rosen was like that. And again, you're all different. We're all different. All the quarterbacks in this draft class are different. But where's that? Where is that? And, Rosen is the, outspoken one, the one who is not afraid to share anything, any thought that he has about anything with politics or this or that or the other thing. And that gets into the news where I'm all for it. I'm outspoken myself. Whether you like it or not, I don't give a damn. And I like that, and I like that he's willing to do that. But can he put that aside, sacrifice not doing that for his team so that, you go into, let's say, you go to a market like New York, let's just say. L.A. He was in L.A. And are you able to put that aside because the media there will eat it up, and that's all they'll focus on? They won't care about the play.
Well, and it's different than like a Mark Sanchez situation or a Johnny Manziel situation. But the thing that, and I want to double back here because I know there might be people in the comment section already that have said like, oh, well, you know what, this or that. I just want to clarify what bugs me. It doesn't bug me that a football player has outside interests.
No,
like
everyone's
going to have outside interests. Like, we do the podcasts, but we have interests outside of podcasts. Like, we have interests outside of
sports
MVP.
And you should have interests outside of sports.
And I'm talking about myself now. For me, I might have outside interests from that, but nobody has to make me focus on this. Make me focus and concentrate on what we do for you guys each and every week. When I hear someone say, and it was just the one line of concentration level and then focus only on football, it shows to me where it's like, are some of those outside interests going to creep in? is it going to get to the point where, let's say you have a coach that's like, you know what, you don't need to know why. It is like this because I say so. That's what it's like. Is it going to make you go, fuck it, I don't need this, and just quit? Not saying that that would happen, but that would be a fear that I might have. And for me, if I'm picking a guy, of course, two different molds, if you gave me the option, pick a guy like Baker Mayfield or pick a guy like Josh Rosen, although in the interview that I saw with Josh Rosen on Rich Eisen, he was very laid back, very chill, seemed like a good kid. I'm picking the Baker Mayfield one because I want that guy who's going to have a chip on his shoulder and is going to come into the building each and every day, and I don't have to worry about his focus level. I don't have to worry that it also comes down to how many times have you heard, well, you might be in class, you might be in practice, you might be at something you have to be with. You're physically there, but are you mentally there? Is all of you present, or are you just physically here?
And now I'd like to take just a little time. I know we've talked a lot about character with Josh Rosen.
Well, that's the big question with me.
Well, it's the big question, I think, with a lot of scouts, too. But all that aside, he probably is the most polished quarterback of all of them.
Matt Ryan, that's my pro comp.
In this draft class, and he is a good passer. Yeah. He has a very good arm.
He's got the skills.
He has a great feel for the passing game, and he seems to have the techniques down and the mechanics and everything like that down pretty well. The other thing with me is, can he stay healthy? Can he get to the NFL and be healthy?
Because he had those injuries in UCLA.
And I don't want to say it's worrisome, but to me it's always worrisome if you've had a significant injury like he had. Everyone comes back differently. Ricky, you and I, we have called many games in our day. Football, basketball, we've seen players get injured, and some come back with a vengeance. They look great. They don't even look like they ever had an injury. But then we see players come back and they are never the same. Well, never the same in not a good way. They never have the confidence again. They don't feel like it's there for them. And is this the case with Josh Rosen? I'm not saying it is, but you don't want to see that happen again, or him get injured again and have that history. Now you have an injury history, and it's in the NFL, and then you're never really living up to your full potential because of that. Not saying that's going to happen. Hope it doesn't. But that would be something that's going to creep in and linger in the back of my mind and that I would be worried about.
Well, yeah, and I mean, the thing that didn't help him is that he came back this year, looked really good, end of the year. Now, the bowl game, you could say it was an injury, using air quotes, because he just didn't want to play that bowl game. But ending the year on an injury, that's also a thing where it's like, okay, you're injured for another year. How's that going to play into everything? Let's move on into the other guys we're going to talk about also.
Because there were other guys we wanted to talk about, right?
The one guy I do want to move on to is Derwin James. And the reason why I want to move on to him is, to me, Derwin James is an interesting one because although I have him at 15 on my big board, the only reason I have him on 15 isn't because of his skill particularly. It's just I like 5 or 6 guys better than him. I like a Marcus Davenport. I like a Vita Vea. I like a Josh Allen. I like a Baker Mayfield better than I do a Derwin James. He's a guy to me that can go anywhere in this draft from, let's say, 12, 13 all the way through, well, maybe even like 10, 11, 13, all the way to 17 at the Chargers, like 17, 18. Like, that's the range he's going to sit in, and you could either see him at the top of that range or at the bottom of that range, and it's not necessarily going to be whether or not he's a good or not player. It's going to be with them is, does he fit on a team, and is someone going to take a stab on a safety so early in the first round? Because he's not a Jalen Ramsey type player, but he's a good safety.
Well, he's not necessarily a Jalen Ramsey type player. That's
I know Jalen Ramsey.
That's probably a 1 in a million.
Yeah, because I know Jalen Ramsey playing corner in the NFL, but coming out, he was the guy that was kind of like that corner safety hybrid. That's why I kind of bring up that Jalen Ramsey type of player. But he's a guy that could range in between this middle of the NFL draft.
See, I think you're undervaluing him. Maybe I'm overvaluing him, but I look at him as an elite secondary guy because he has great athleticism, speed, size, football instincts, hitting ability. I mean, he's got all the tools right there. And when you pair the tools with the elite athleticism, you have yourself one hell of a player. And I think that this guy could be a huge difference maker in any secondary. And now maybe he's not Jalen Ramsey, but he sure as heck darn close. For all those reasons that I just gave. I mean, he's all those tools. I mean, the way that he can hit guys. I mean, brutal hits against guys. His football smarts. He knows where to be, right place. His speed, his size is going to help him stick with anybody coverage-wise and be able to go up and get the football from those bigger guys as well. So I think that all those things make him a very, very good talent.
Well, and the thing that's going to be the most interesting thing, kind of to go more into it with Derwin James, is it's going to come down to teams. Who do you like better? Like, I'm going to play a little experiment with you, going off of my rough draft for my mock draft, which is probably going to change until next week. But I'll just give you 2 choices on guys. You tell me who you would pick. So both of these guys are needs, by the way, for your team. So you're picking at 10. Do you take Roquan Smith or Derwin James? Who would you take? Roquan Smith at linebacker, Derwin James at safety. You're picking 10th overall right now.
Depends on what team it is.
It's the Raiders. That's who it is. So need a linebacker, but could also go with a safety. Would you take?
I'm going with Derwin James.
I'm going
Derwin James. The Raiders have given up way too many big plays. Their secondary is terrible.
I'll say even this. This is going a little higher. What about the Buccaneers? Would you take either? I'll give you a choice of 3 because one of them might not be there, but he could. Would you take? I'm taking Saquon off the table. If Saquon's there, duh, you're taking him. But Minkah Fitzpatrick. Or are you taking Derwin James? Or are you taking Derwin James or Tremaine Edmonds?
I'm going with Minkah Fitzpatrick.
But what if it's Edmonds versus James? Would you take James over the edge rusher in Tremaine Edmonds for a team? What if it's the Bears? I mean, the Bears don't really need a safety, but you could sit there and go, okay, just take BPA. The thing for me with Derwin James is teams early on in that top 10 are going to be, like for the Raiders example, yeah, we can go with a safety. I really want that linebacker, though, so we're going to take this linebacker who's a good pick here at 10.
I get it, but you could be going the other way.
Oh,
we could be going that linebacker, but we really need help in the safety.
And that's why for him, I give this range, and I say from like 10 to 17 because there's just so... Like, for me, the Chargers are the team. That is the team. If he falls to 17... There's no way. The Chargers don't even really need a safety. They could use one. But if Derwin James is there, the Chargers will be like, yeah, sure, let's take him. Let's go ahead and take him because he's here at 17. Like, for me, he's one of those players that he might drop a little bit only because teams are going to take other players, whether it's a need that they really could use over safety or if a team really falls in love with a player. Like last year, we saw the Chiefs move up and get Patrick Mahomes. How many people thought Patrick Mahomes was going to go that early in the draft? Or when the Browns traded it back, but when the Texans moved up to get a Deshaun Watson when they did. Like, there's going to be surprises, and I think he is going to be the victim, I'll say, of said surprises and could fall because of it. He could fall not having anything to do with what he does on the football field.
Well, I will not disagree with you on that.
What about the last one we'll go into, our last guy staying in the secondary? I have him at 8. I really like him. I think that this could be, he is to me the best pure corner in this draft in my mind, and there have been times that I have debated whether or not the Cleveland Browns should take him or Minkah Fitzpatrick at number 4. You have him at 13. What are your thoughts on Denzel Ward, the cornerback from the Buckeyes?
Well, Denzel Ward, I like him. I like him a lot. I had him high in my last mock draft. I have him now at 13 for literally no reason other than this is where I put him this time. But I think that he is the best cornerback in this draft class, and I really want to say that it's Josh Jackson because I was very high on Josh Jackson. I still am, but when you look at what they did at the Combine, Denzel Ward really performed well, while Josh Jackson, he didn't seem as sharp.
Josh Jackson's got the ball hawk skills, though. That's
why I dropped him. And I do want to bring Josh Jackson into this conversation.
Go ahead,
because
do it.
I think
because he is the second best corner in the draft.
As Denzel Ward may be better in terms of his skills, his speed, stuff like that. And we're not talking like, whoa, just leaps and bounds. We're talking a little bit. He may just have the edge on him just a bit there. But Josh Jackson may be the most clutch. He may be the most clutch cornerback. I mean, look at what he did last season. He had 8 interceptions. He had 3 against the Buckeyes in that rout of Ohio State. What a huge game. No one expected that game. Everyone thought that Ohio State was just going to walk all over Iowa. And Iowa said, screw you, man. And it was thanks in big part to Josh Jackson. Outstanding job. But he did not perform at the Combine. And that's where a lot of guys are going to be looking. That's where the scouts are. That's where it's time to really put it on display. And who did that was Denzel Ward. He really did a lot of great things. I mean, the last time when we talked about this, Ricky, and you're going through all the different drills they had to do. It's like Denzel Ward was above average on this. He was above average on this. He was great at this. I mean, I can't remember exactly every single thing, but you ran through them. And Josh Jackson did not exceed at all those things.
Well, it was the Todd McShay of
whereas Denzel Ward did.
And the thing that, I mean, it's going to come down to between the two is, like you said, Denzel Ward, he performed well at the Combine. He's also a guy where it's like, you're looking for a coverage guy. You're looking for a guy who, you know what I almost want to say? I don't think this is going to be the case, but it just popped into my head reading on his draft profile, the expected to be impressive Combine tester. Is there a chance that when we're looking 5, 6, 10 years down the line, Josh Jackson is looked at as the better corner, and we kind of look at it in the sense of you got 2 kids in school, one's just a really good test taker. Give him the ISAT, knocks it out of the park. Give him the Explore test, knocks it out of the park. Student B, you give him that same standardized test, he doesn't know what to do with it. He doesn't even know how to write the name on the paper. That's basically how bad he is taking tests. That down the line we see that, oh, that person, that guy who was a really good test taker, things didn't end up so well for him because he didn't have, and I'm not saying that Denzel Ward doesn't have the skills, but will it become hey, that Combine, that poor Combine that Josh Jackson had, it didn't care because he's intercepting the ball left and right. Could that happen to where we look 10 years down the line and Josh Jackson's the better ranked corner than Denzel Ward?
Yes, I think that could happen. And now it remains to be seen. I mean, we'll have to wait a little bit.
Hindsight's always 20/20.
Sure. And we're going to have to wait a little bit on, seeing if that plays itself out and how it does. But Josh Jackson is, I mean, everything that he did, it's too good to then come in and have such a bad Combine experience. You know, it was certainly underwhelming. But then you have Denzel Ward, who was always right there kind of neck and neck, come in and have what was a very good Combine experience and really, I think, opened people's eyes up and kind of shot him up above Josh Jackson and fairly high on draft boards. So it's kind of incredible the amount of stock that people do put into the Combine, you and me included.
Yep. We even had comments that were like, why are you putting so much stock into the Combine?
just like that. They said it just like that.
Well,
and
well, that's how it's said in my head.
Yeah, I like it like that though. It's funny. It really is. I mean, is there going to come a day where the combine is no longer the measurement? Does there come a day? I mean, does there come a day that the combine is not useless or worn out, but where we're just like, yeah, great combine, that's nice, but there's a lot of guys better than you in the NFL because they're performing better. You had a great day. They had a great season. You know, I don't know. I don't know. And I think that's what we always do. We always kind of come to the well, it's almost the combine. We'll find out how good they are here. They benched 15 times. I mean, does that mean that they're going to be able to go and get, 15 interceptions? No, not necessarily. So who cares? I mean, it's not like that, but you could almost look at it as being so.
Well, let's end this. Let's have you guys come in. Let us know what you guys think about 6 through 15 down below in the comment section. Let's move on, though, into our top 5. Brandon, give it to me. What's your top 5 for our last big board, the 4.0?
Well, Ricky, to start it off at number 5, Josh Allen, quarterback from Wyoming.
You like saying cornerback.
Quarter. It's hard to sometimes tell the difference. At 4, you like just not saying Jackson.
Yeah.
At 4,
good thing there's no Jacksons in this top 5.
At 4, Minkah Fitzpatrick, defensive back, a versatile safety, cornerback, wherever you want to put him on the field, from Alabama. At number 3, Bradley Chubb, defensive end, NC State.
Bradley Chubb.
At number 2, Quentin Nelson, offensive guard, Notre Dame. And at number 1, has not moved, Saquon Barkley, running back, Penn State.
Yeah, and spoiler alert, Saquon's not moving on mine either. Looking at my number 5, Quentin Nelson, the god from Notre Dame. Then number 4, Roquan Smith, the linebacker from the Georgia Bulldogs. Number 3, Josh Allen, quarterback from the Wyoming Cowboys. Number 2, Bradley Chubb, the pass rusher defensive end from NC State in the Wolfpack. And then Saquon Barkley, the running back from Penn State.
Why did you say it like that? The Wolfpack? The Wolfpack?
Well, because I did so.
Oh, you did that. I thought you just put up a finger.
No. I did this.
I literally thought you just put up a finger. And I was like, what?
No.
Why are
what
you
this
doing
is back in the day, I did it as a wrestling reference. Reference. So
sounding out.
Back in when the NWO was a thing, they called themselves, part of them was I think it was the red lettering. They were the Wolf Pack, and they would use this as their, they would do wolf and they would make it look like a wolf, and it would be the Wolf Pack.
Gotcha.
So that's what I was doing. The
history. Thank you. You learn
North
something
Carolina
new every
State
day.
Wolf Pack. But first guy I want to mention in this top 5, he's at number 2 on your list. He's at number 5 on my list. He has finally cracked the top 5, and for me, he is the best offensive lineman in this draft. What are your thoughts about Quentin Nelson as we get into the final stretch before the NFL draft?
So this is one thing I want to point out that scouts have said to pencil him in as a 10-year Pro Bowl player who will be in the Hall. Now,
take him at number 1.
That's crazy. Now, that's crazy to say that before he has ever stepped out into
Eric Fisher,
an
take
NFL
him number 1.
game. That's what some scouts have said about Quentin Nelson. So,
Eric Fisher, pencil him in, number 1.
Quentin Nelson, what I think, best offensive lineman in this class. He's the cleanest player in terms of he's just sharp. He is very polished, and some have him regarded as being better than his former teammate Zach Martin. And Zach Martin, very, very good for, was it the Cowboys?
Yep, Dallas Cowboys.
I mean, part of that great offensive line that the Cowboys have, that speaks volumes. To be better than Zach Martin, who, huge player. I mean, difference maker. When they had DeMarco Murray, what was it, 2-3 years ago now, and that offensive line, he ran wherever he wanted, over whoever he wanted, and had the stats that he wanted. Quentin Nelson will do that and can be that for an offensive line. And that's why I think, I'm just going to throw it out there, I think the New York Giants need to take Quentin Nelson at number 2.
Now, the Giants, to me, are the team that, and this is getting into Quentin Nelson territory, they should probably go with Quentin Nelson. They should probably go with Saquon. But I'm in the mindset of a team likes a guy. If a team comes out, like I know they haven't, but if news comes out that a team likes a quarterback, odds are they're taking that quarterback. Odds are in the top 2, they're taking that quarterback. And for me, the big thing with Quentin Nelson is the question for me when it comes to him is he going to be a Denver Bronco? And the reason why I say that is because I'm assuming quarterback. I'm assuming the Browns go quarterback, the Giants go quarterback, the Jets go quarterback. The Browns then with their next pick could go Quentin Nelson, could help that quarterback, but will probably go defense. Then it comes down to the Broncos. Do you take a Josh Rosen? Do you take a Baker Mayfield, depending on where you sit and who you got the Jets taking? Or do you take both of them because you got Lamar Jackson going to the New York Jets and you're one of those people? But the thing is, Quentin Nelson's probably going to be available at 5. Do you go with the quarterback, John Elway? Or do you double down on what both you and your head coach have said, definitely Vance Joseph, and that Case Keenum's your guy? Case Keenum's the guy. And you protect him. That's the thing for Quentin Nelson, where I don't think he's going to go number 1, don't think he's going to go number 2, but he could go 5, he could go 4, he could go 6. And whatever team gets him, Browns, Broncos, Colts, or if a team trades up for him, whatever team gets him is going to have a stable presence on the inside of that offensive line. And it's going to be huge for whatever team he goes to. Now, another question in this top 5 is the guy that you said you wanted to talk about. The lone quarterback in our top 5. You have him at 5. I have him at 3. I think personally he's going to be the number 1 pick overall because the Browns have said to like him. Josh Allen. What are you thinking about Josh Allen? Last time we're going to be able to talk about him on a big board.
So I have him at 5, like you mentioned. And they say there's no bigger boom or bust pick in the draft.
They say. It's all about they. They are always saying. You know what I'm saying there, Brandon?
That's what the experts say that around the league that have more time than we do to go in and look at every single thing and every piece of material that's out there to look at Josh Allen, and they say no bigger boom or bust pick in the draft. Well, you know what? I will take that risk. I don't care. I'm going Josh Allen as the number 1 quarterback taken in this draft because of that. You have to sometimes. I'll use the stupid phrase of you've got to risk it to get the biscuit. And there's got to be a team, and I'll let you go in a minute here.
Because I got a question for you specifically.
He's been phenomenal in the draft process. His arm is absolutely outstanding. Coaching can help the small hitches in his game. I think that you put him on a team, and now if Cleveland took him, Cleveland right now would be so stupid, I think, in my mind, to take him as number 1, but maybe not, because if they don't take Saquon Barkley, people can now say, well, they've got Carlos Hyde. They've got Carlos Hyde. They're fine. I still take Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley is better than Carlos Hyde. Let's be honest. But if you were able to take Josh Allen, come back and take Saquon Barkley at what are they? 4? 1 and 4.
You're talking about the
Browns. And
4.
Get that? Josh Allen is not on a bad team if he goes to the Cleveland Browns. That would not be the case.
Here's my only problem with that. And it's my only problem because I've thought about this coming up with mock drafts. If you're the Browns and you don't take Josh Allen number 1, he will not be there by the time you get to 4 because the Jets will snap. By the time the Browns make that Saquon Barkley pick, the Jets will already have their pick for Josh Allen on the table. They will already have their guy running it up there.
Okay, can I ask a question then?
Go ahead.
Did the Cleveland Browns simply trade for Tyrod Taylor to get their backup quarterback? Or do they believe that Tyrod Taylor can be their starting quarterback? Well, and I'm very serious about that. I'm very serious. I know
for a year, yes.
I get that.
For a year, yes.
This is a draft class where if you're skipping out on a quarterback altogether, now maybe I'm still in the boat that you don't have to go a quarterback number one here, Cleveland. You don't have to do it. And you get the better playmaker if you go with Barkley at number one. How important is making sure you get your quarterback? Do you worry that...
Very important.
Well, I get it. That was maybe silly to say it, but they haven't gotten their quarterback in a long time.
Well, and
it's time to get a guy who's going to make plays for you. Saquon Barkley undoubtedly will.
The reason why I am saying... So I'm saying when it comes to Josh Allen, he should be the number one overall pick. And I'm not saying that because, he's like... when it was Jameis Winston or when it's Matthew Stafford or he is the if de facto. I am saying it because of the team that's there. If you like a guy, so if the Browns really do what they say, like Josh Allen, with the news that's coming out, take him at number one because there's no guarantee he's going to be there. What if a team trades with New York to get him at number two? What if because the Jets are a team... Whether or not the Giants trade, he ain't getting to 4 anyways in my mind because the Jets are thinking about inviting him back for another workout. They're getting a second look at him. Usually if you're getting a second look at a guy, you're pretty sure that he's your guy. You just need a little bit, you're just fine-tuning that decision, just making sure that you're really not making the wrong choice. Because let's be honest, Saquon could still be there at 4. Could still be there at 4. And then you get the question of, do you take Saquon or do you not? I'm going to pose this question on you. Mark and I might talk about it this week, or it might get bounced because of the Patriot news. Both you and I have Saquon at number one. I want to ask you this, though. Number one talent on the big board. Odds to you, give me a percentage in your thoughts of what you would think if this happened. Odds are Saquon falls out of the top 5.
0% chance.
So you think he's going to the Browns? Either way, either 1 or 4.
0% chance that he falls out of the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Every team in the top 5, if not one of those teams took Saquon Barkley, they are stupid. They are dumb. If they don't take Saquon Barkley with their pick, if not one of those top 5 takes him, because every single one of those top 5 could use him.
I mean, except for me, the Broncos could, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, they got C.J. Anderson, but C.J. Anderson's not Saquon
They don't even know if
Barkley.
they're going to keep C.J. Anderson.
True. I mean, the Jets definitely need him. The Giants definitely need him. And then
the Giants would be fine if Saquon Barkley became their quarterback. I mean, you score with the ball in your hands, right? Okay, we're giving it to you.
Well, and that's why for me, I'm starting to see maybe 50-60%. That Saquon falls out of the top 5.
No, you are goofy.
And the reason,
no way.
No. The reason why I'm saying that is 1 and 2 are clear to me. And this is all because of what I said. If news came out, Browns like Allen. All right, Browns are going to go with Josh Allen. News comes out, Giants love Darnold. Why would you pass on your guy if you love him? Take Darnold. So I think Allen, Darnold, 1, 2. Then at 3, the Jets... They need a quarterback. Josh McCown's not the future. Teddy Bridge over troubled waters is not the future. I love Teddy Two Gloves. I'm mad that he's not in Minnesota anymore. He's not the future.
How mad are you?
He's not the future.
How mad are you?
I would have liked to still have Teddy on the team. I mean, I still would have liked Kirk Cousins.
As what, an ambassador?
Yeah, as the backup. I would have loved to have Teddy as the backup. I mean, the thing is, I think quarterback go 1, 2, 3. Then the Browns... They could take him again.
Who's going to be the third quarterback?
Josh Allen. No, Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, and then probably Baker Mayfield if I was picking, because I like Baker more than Josh Rosen.
Who's 3 again?
Baker Mayfield.
No,
the Jets.
The team. Jets are 3.
But then the Browns, they'll probably go defense, either Minka or Ward.
Why would they do that?
They could go.
Okay, yes.
Could go Barkley again.
Again, maybe a silly question. I know they need the defense, but again, look at what you're building offensively. If you have your quarterback at number 1 and you go Allen, you get Allen. Hold on. You get your guy. You have Landry, wide receiver. You've got Coleman, wide receiver. You've got Gordon, wide receiver. You have Carlos Hyde at running back. You take Saquon Barkley. And you don't do committee, but you have Barkley, you could line him up as a wide receiver if you wanted to put Carlos Hyde back there as the running back. You're building something real good there, Cleveland, offensively.
I'm throwing this out at you. You are now the GM of the Cleveland Browns.
Good. I'm getting paid a lot of money. I'm going to make the right decision and go Barkley 1.
This is a Saquon question for you. If you were the Browns, what would you rather have? I can give you 2 options. The first option is you get Josh Allen at 1, you get Saquon at 2. The second option is you get Josh Allen at 1, your pick of Ward or Minka, which one would you take? Minka or Denzel Ward? Minka. And then with either your number 1 pick in the second round or your 3rd overall pick in the second round, you can get a Darius Geis. So what would you pick? Would you take Saquon and Josh Allen? Or Josh Allen, Minka Fitzpatrick, and Darius Geis? If I'm guaranteeing you can have any of those 2 choices, and you get whatever choice you take, you automatically get those players. Don't have to worry about anyone taking them ahead of when you do.
What was the first one again?
The first one was you get Josh Allen at 1, you get Saquon at 2. The second one is you get Josh Allen at 1, you get Minka at 4, and you get a Darius Geis either with your 33rd or 35th overall pick in the second round.
I'm going with the first one.
Really?
I'm going with the first one.
See, I would go with the second one because the thing is with the Browns, they have so many picks. Those running backs that we were talking about, they can get one of those guys. And I know that they're not Saquon Barkley.
About how those running backs, yet good, are not at the same
have Carlos
playmaking. I know, but Carlos Hyde again is a guy who has had some injuries in the past. Carlos Hyde, I would quickly throw away if I had Saquon Barkley.
If you
Does
had
anyone
Saquon
want Carlos Hyde now? I just got Barkley. That's what I would do. That's what I would do, and I'll tell you what. I would still not be afraid to go with Saquon Barkley at 1 because guess what? If I miss out on Allen at 2 or maybe Darnold at 3, I'm going with Baker Mayfield, and then we'd be having some fun. He'd be throwing that puppy all over the field.
Really,
I'm okay with it.
So really, you're going and that's a good point. So you would go Barkley. I almost said Baker. Barkley at 1, just because I'm getting one of the top 5 quarterbacks at 4.
Yeah,
I get my pick between the 2 leftovers, probably Baker and Rosen.
Yeah, leftovers, but they're not bad leftovers, and it's not because you're going to be so scrutinized. If you're the Cleveland Browns, you're going to be so scrutinized if you go with that quarterback at number 1 and they don't happen to pan out within the first 2 minutes. If he doesn't throw a touchdown to like Roger Goodell on stage as he's being introduced, he's not going to win in Cleveland.
Or you shock the world and take Lamar Jackson at 4.
But my whole thing is that if you bring Saquon, and we could all be, the world could be wrong, and Saquon could be a bust. He could be a bigger bust than Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah.
But I don't see it happening. I think Saquon Barkley is going to be everything that he's been advertised to be. And then if you do that, no one in Cleveland is going to go, you screwed us on a number 1 pick yet again. No, you win on your number 1 pick, and you win the fans of Cleveland because they love you because they can wear Saquon Barkley's jersey at all the games as you win 6, and you are outstanding. It's like you've won the Super. We won 6 games, and then you do not lose when you get a leftover at 4 who could be Baker Mayfield, who's going to whoop ass on the field anyways. Who cares that he's not 4 inches taller? He's going to fight, and he's going to scrap, and he's going to play like he's 4 inches taller. And then you have won the Cleveland City over. They don't even know who LeBron James is anymore. They've forgotten about him.
Well, he's going to be.
They don't
he's
care.
Not going to be here after the season.
And it doesn't matter. And I have just turned the Browns around.
So,
put me in as GM. I am right.
Before we close up shop here, I got 2 questions for you. Kind of off-topic questions that I want to get your take on. Number 1, this is just off the top of my head. I don't know if there's any worthiness to this. Sean told me about this as our Patriot insider here at MVP. He said that he heard something about the Patriots getting the 23rd pick to use maybe their, not to use it, but that they got a call saying that they're really interested in Josh Rosen. Off the cuff question. Do you see the Patriots taking the 23rd and the 31st to move up to take Josh Rosen? So they would take the 23rd and the 31st, trade those picks to somebody higher in the draft to take a Josh Rosen like in the middle of the first.
The Patriots
to Tom Brady.
After trading to get Brandon Cooks, what was it, just a year ago? They had him for one season. They just traded him away. I could see the Patriots doing anything. Because why? It's the Patriots.
True.
They just do things what seems to us to be on a whim, but yet there's just this mastermind smarts that they have with Belichick and Brady and Kraft, mainly Belichick, and it all seems to work out. It always works out.
Second off the cuff question I've got for you, and I'm pulling the NBA draft into this. What would your thoughts be is if NFL draft happens, Baker Mayfield ends up in a New York Jet jersey, we get to the NBA draft, Trae Young, another Oklahoma kid, ends up in a New York Knicks jersey. The two most polarizing, I would say polarizing just because of with Baker Mayfield, it's the chip on his shoulder, it's the I'm going to fight, it's the people comparing him to Johnny Manziel, and then Trae Young polarizing on the NBA side that both of those guys from Oklahoma go to New York teams and get to play in New York.
Well, I think that would be pretty exciting. I think it would give the city of New York some excitement. And again, it's not necessarily
not that they don't have enough life. It never sleeps.
Mean that that's Vegas, but not
is it? I thought that was New York.
Well, Vegas literally never sleeps. You never know what time it is when you're inside the casino. So, anywho, but it's that would be cool. I think that would be cool because it would bring a new kind of rejuvenated life. And again, I know that to really keep that going, they'd have to win and perform. I don't think that would probably be a problem for either one of them because we look at Baker Mayfield, he did a whole lot of really good things in college. Trae Young, he's done a whole lot of really good things in college. I think people would more so look at Trae Young and be like, okay, how's he going to pan out because of the fact that it was all him. And he took all these shots. He was, he'd go 3 of 15 from 3. He'd go, 1 of 10 from 3. But it would be, and I know we're kind of getting to NBA here, but he's not going to be asked and called upon to be doing that type of stuff. He's not going to be the only good player on his team. That would be very cool.
I just think it'd be awesome to have both the Oklahoma polarizing players in New York. And also, I am right. Google says the city that never sleeps is a well-known nickname for New York City, famously employed in the theme from New York, New York, covered by Frank Sinatra. It's the city that never sleeps.
I'll be honest with you, it doesn't really make as much sense, though, because Vegas, literally, they're not sleeping because someone's up all the time. Not that they aren't in New York, but just saying.
This is where you guys come in, though. Let us know what you guys think down below in the comment section. What do you think of our big board 1 through 5 and then 1 through 25? Also, a little housekeeping here at the end. Patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. That's where you go to help support us. Patreon exclusive podcast. You can join us. Matthew actually just emailed me during this podcast. We're going to set him up. He's going to be on the Primetime Podcast again this month. Excellent. You could be like him. Check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. The shirt, the store for the MVP shirt down below in the description. mostvaluablepodcast.com is where we put everything for MVP each and every day. And then last but not least, you're on Apple Podcasts or iTunes. Go ahead and give the Primetime Podcast a 5-star rating. Want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. And as always, have a good day, everybody.